My smart home system keeps unlocking the front door at 3 a.m. I checked the command logs. The manual override is coming from inside the guest bedroom. It's a specific kind of cold that hits you when you see something like that in plain text on a screen. Not the cold of the air conditioner kicking on, but a deep internal chill that starts in your gut and spreads to your fingertips. The log was timestamped 3:03 a.m. Command: unlock, front door. Source: guest bedroom hug, manual override. It was the third time this week. The first time, I'd woken up to the soft click of the smart lock disengaging. I laid in bed, heart hammering against my ribs, listening. I waited for the sound of the door creaking open, for footsteps on the hardwood floor. Nothing. After 10 minutes of absolute silence, I crept out of my room, a heavy mag light in my hand, and found the door unlocked but shut. I wrote it off as a glitch. This whole smart home setup was my ex's idea anyway, a parting gift of integrated paranoia I never wanted. The second time, 2 nights later, the same thing. The click, the silence. This time, I didn't hesitate. I checked the security camera feed on my phone. The porch was empty, the street was still, just a single streetlight casting long, distorted shadows. That's when the real fear started to curdle. A glitch is one thing. A pattern is something else entirely. That's what led me to the system logs, digging through lines of code and network handshakes until I found it, the override, coming from the one room in the house that should be silent and empty, except for the fact that it wasn't. My younger brother, Leo, was sleeping in there. He'd shown up a month ago, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, and that familiar, apologetic look in his eyes that meant he'd screwed up again. Lost his job, his apartment, the usual Leo cycle. I couldn't turn him away. So he's been crashing in the guest room, surrounded by boxes I still haven't unpacked since the move. And now, according to my phone, he was waking up in the middle of the night to manually unlock the front door from his room's smart hub. And then, what? Go back to sleep? It made no sense. It was terrifying. I waited until morning. The thought of confronting him in the dark with the door unlocked and the house vulnerable was too much. I sat on my couch, watching the front door until the sun started to bleed through the blinds. When he heard him shuffling around upstairs, I made coffee, trying to act normal. He came down, yawning, and grabbed a mug. "Morning," he mumbled, running a hand through his messy hair. I watched him, searching for any sign, any hint of deception. He just looked tired. "Sleep okay?" I asked, my voice tighter than I wanted. He shrugged, pouring coffee. "Like a rock. This place is way quieter than my old apartment." He had no idea, or he was a phenomenal actor. I decided to investigate while he was out looking for a job he probably wouldn't find. The guest room was a mess of clothes and takeout containers. The smart hub, a small white tablet mounted on the wall by the door, was glowing faintly. I tapped the screen. It was on the main home screen, no recent activity shown. Nothing looked out of place. I started digging through the boxes stacked in the corner, thinking maybe there was another device, something I'd forgotten about. Under a pile of old towels, I found it. A much older, dust-covered smart hub, the kind the previous owners must have left behind. It was plugged into an outlet behind the dresser, its power light a dull, steady green. A wave of relief washed over me. Of course, it had to be this thing. A faulty, outdated piece of tech, probably connecting to the network intermittently and sending ghost commands. It was a logical, comforting explanation. I yanked its cord from the wall with a sense of finality, the green light blinking out. That night, I went to bed feeling safer than I had in a week. I'd solved it. It wasn't Leo being a weirdo. It wasn't a hacker. It was just old, crappy wiring. I fell into a deep, dreamless sleep, the kind of sleep you only get when a heavy weight has been lifted. Then I was jolted awake, not by a sound, but by a notification vibrating on my nightstand, a security alert from the smart home app. My heart sank before I even read it. I knew what it would say. And there it was, glowing on the screen. 3:03 a.m. Front door unlocked. I scrambled for my phone, my hands shaking as I pulled up the system logs. It felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Command: unlock front door. Source: guest bedroom hub, manual override. It was impossible. I had unplugged the old hub. Leo was, I assumed, fast asleep.
As I stared at the screen, a new sound drifted down the hallway. It wasn't the click of the lock this time. It was a floorboard creaking, softly, in the guest bedroom. And then I heard it again, closer this time, just outside my door. My breath caught in my throat, a dry, useless little sound. I was completely still, listening with an intensity that felt like it could shatter glass. The house was silent again, but it was a different kind of silence now. It was the silence of a held breath, of a predator that knows you've seen it. I stared at my bedroom door, at the thin sliver of light underneath, expecting to see a shadow pass, expecting the brass knob to slowly, silently turn. Every nerve ending was on fire. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. My body had made the decision for me. Play dead. Maybe whatever was out there would think I was still asleep and move on. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs, the only sound in the universe. Then, just as slowly as it had appeared, the presence receded. Another creak, this one farther away, back in the direction of the guest room. A soft, muffled click, like a door being gently shut. The tension in my chest eased just enough for me to take a shaky, silent breath. I waited. 1 minute. 5. 10. Nothing. The silence returned to its normal, empty state. Slowly, painstakingly, I slid out of bed, my feet making no sound on the rug. I crept to my door, my ear pressed against the cool wood. I heard nothing but the low hum of the refrigerator downstairs. With a hand that trembled so badly I could barely control it, I twisted the lock on my own door and eased it open a crack. The hallway was empty, steeped in the familiar blue-gray light of the pre-dawn hours, and at the far end, I saw it. The front door was standing open, just a few inches, a dark vertical slash cutting through the safety of my home. I didn't sleep again. I sat on the floor of my room, my back against the locked door until the sun came up. I didn't know what to do. Call the police? What would I say? That my brother was sleep unlocking the door? They'd think I was crazy. When I finally heard him stirring, I went downstairs, my mind a cold, hard knot of fear and resolve. I didn't make coffee. I just sat on the couch, my phone on the table in front of me, the log screen still displayed. He came down the stairs, stretching, looking just as tired and unassuming as the day before. He saw my face and his smile faltered. "Whoa, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." My voice was flat, devoid of any emotion I was actually feeling. "Leo, what were you doing at 3 a.m? His brow furrowed in genuine confusion. "What? I was sleeping. What are you talking about?" He saw the phone then, and I tapped the screen, pointing to the log entry.
For the 4th time this week, the front door was unlocked from the hub in your room. Except last night, I heard you. I heard you walk down the hall. I heard you right outside my door. His face went pale. He shook his head, a frantic, jerky motion. No, I wasn't. I was in bed. I would never. Why would I do that? He looked so lost, so utterly bewildered, that for a second my resolve wavered. But I couldn't forget the feeling of that presence just on the other side of my door. The terror was too real. "I don't know, Leo. That's what I'm asking you." My voice cracked, the fear finally bubbling to the surface. "Are you on something? Are you in some kind of trouble?" He just kept shaking his head, his eyes wide. He looked past me toward the front door, and something shifted in his expression. It wasn't guilt. It was a dawning horror, a flicker of some terrible buried recognition. "The creaking floorboards," he whispered, more to himself than to me. I've been having these dreams. Nightmares, really." He sank onto the armchair opposite me, his head in his hands. He told me about the apartment he'd lost before this one, a run-down shoebox on the 4th floor with a slumlord who'd illegally installed bars on the bedroom window after a break-in. He said he'd always felt trapped there, like a cage. He started having nightmares that the building was on fire, that he couldn't get out. He'd wake up drenched in sweat, his hands raw from pulling at the window bars in his sleep. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with a desperate, pleading light. I think I think that's what's happening. I'm dreaming I'm back there, trying to escape. The pieces started to click into place, forming a picture that was so much more awful and sad than anything I had imagined. The guest room door is right next to the wall-mounted smart hub. In his sleepwalking panic, trying to get out of a burning room that only existed in his head, he wasn't fumbling for the doorknob. His hands were slapping against the wall, searching for an exit, and finding the smooth, glowing screen of the hub. The manual override wasn't a conscious command. It was a blind, sleeping person's desperate push of the largest, most illuminated button on a screen he couldn't even really see. Unlock. He wasn't trying to let something in. He was trying to get himself out. The fear that had been strangling me for a week finally dissolved, leaving behind a hollow, aching sadness. He wasn't a threat. He was my little brother, haunted and hurting in ways I never knew. The smart home system, this monument to security and control, had only served as an amplifier for his trauma, turning his internal prison into a real-world vulnerability. The unlocked door wasn't an invitation to a monster. It was a symptom of one. We sat there in the morning light, the silence thick with everything that had gone unsaid for years. I could unplug the hub, I could change the codes, I could put a deadbolt on the door. But the house was never the thing that was truly at risk. The ghost wasn't in the machine, it was in him. How do you secure a home when the person you're trying to protect is also the source of the danger? Let us know in the comments.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. I post new stories every day.